Welcome to a video version of the column Practical Science on Patch.com. This week we are speaking with Dr. Clint Springer, Professor of Biology at St. Joseph's University in Philadelphia, on the topic of global climate change. For the interview, we headed up to the roof of St. Joseph's Science Center where a green roof system has been installed. St. Joseph's is the first university in the city of Philadelphia to install a green roof. Dr. Springer's research focuses on the effects of increased carbon dioxide on plants. Carbon dioxide, or CO2, is a greenhouse gas and the chief contributor to global warming. But what is CO2, and where does it come from?
We have lots of projects in the lab. One of them is most of them deal with elevated atmospheric carbon dioxide, which is the primary gas that's released when you burn fossil fuels. So you burn coal, you burn gasoline, petroleum, you release CO2 into our atmosphere.
Elevated CO2 and other greenhouse gases are put into the atmosphere through burning of fossil fuels. But how does this affect the planet and the climate?
So greenhouse gases at the right concentrations are a very positive thing because it's what makes Earth inhabitable.
Right.
But beyond that, you get too much, it's like putting on extra blankets in the middle of the summer.
Aside from increasing global temperatures, increased carbon dioxide has a direct effect on the ecosystem, specifically plants and their systems.
Elevated CO2 has a direct effect on plants, and that photosynthesis, the process which harnesses all of the energy from the sun, which gives us life, is where CO2 has its effect.
Photosynthesis, the chief metabolic pathway in plants, is actually increased along with more CO2. This may seem like a good thing, and as a matter of fact it is, but only if all the nutrients are available in abundance. This is rarely ever the case in nature. Dr. Springer's research has showed that another integral plant system is affected by increased CO2.
Some of the focus of my research is understanding how CO2 changes flowering time.
Research like Dr. Springer's shows atmospheric CO2 affects the photosynthetic pathways and flowering time of plants. But what does this mean for the environment and us as a species?
The cascading effects at the higher levels are things like pollinators. For example, if plants bloom earlier than their particular pollinator emerge for whatever reason, then there's a chance that you'll see a decoupling of a pollinator and a plant. And that has serious consequences for both that pollinator and that plant. And if that plant happens to be an integral member of an ecosystem that the functioning of it relies on, then you get a very, very different picture of how that ecosystem would function.
In addition to affecting plant-pollinator interaction in the ecosphere, delayed flowering time may have a drastic effect on agriculture and the food we rely so heavily on. So what does global climate change mean for our local area?
So, climate change, the really terrible thing about climate change is that it's pretty much ubiquitous. It's not regional. That's what we call global climate change. One of the things that we know about increasing CO2 in the atmosphere, as I talked about earlier, carbon dioxide, is that because the atmosphere turns over and is well mixed, the concentration pretty much anywhere you go around the world is about the same. So because we've increased the concentration and we know that CO2 has direct effect on ecosystems, there's largely no ecosystem that's untouched by man's activities. Even if we've never been there, something that we've released here in Philadelphia could have an impact in Brazil.
Dr. Springer also added that local recreation areas and parks are extremely vulnerable because of their disconnections from larger biospheres. Constant actions by citizens and workers are needed to make sure these ecosystems are protected. So what can we do to help? How can we help slow down and eventually stop global climate change? Dr. Springer believes that stabilizing climate change falls into the hands of national policy. He encourages people to vote often for green-minded candidates and urges politicians already in office to advocate green legislation. On the local level, Dr. Springer also has a list of suggestions that we can do every day to ensure the future of our world and environment. Together, we can make climate change a thing of the past by following these guidelines. Here are some ways you can help. Recycle, buy less meat, buy local agriculture, walk or bike to locations, purchase a smaller vehicle, and use less water. Thank you for watching this video version of Practical Science on Patch.com. Stay tuned for future videos, and as always, think about it.